It's been a while since I've played the Parks Legacy, a legacy I started back in 2010 in The Sims 3, and I haven't really played them since. It's been over a decade now. I don't really have much recollection of their storyline, at least not where I left off. I did make notes back in the day, but I wasn't as on it as I am today. With currently three living generations, so we have three generations worth of Sims in this legacy that are still alive, I thought it would be fun to figure out the family storyline or how to continue it based on family dynamics that I could think of. And I want to inspire these family dynamics using scraps of lore that I do know about this family, relationships that I know about this family, but also using Enneagram personality types that I've assigned to each family member to help me figure out what kind of dynamic they might have with each other, where this could lead to conflict, where this could lead to, harmony. That's what I want to explore today. And so on this page, you can see my Notion. So to be exact, it's my Sim Guardian system. This is a legacy record in the Sim Guardian system. So this is a legacy record for the Parks Legacy. As you can see, I have their family identity to the left in the sidebar, where I have finally a family crest for them. I finally made one. It is basically a Canva template, where I swapped out the middle part with a bird. So I picked a sparrow because, as you see here in the details, we have family values. They value ambition, adventure, business, family. They love the outdoors. They also value like freedom as well. And they love to travel, so they love to visit Shangri-La in particular. So I thought a bird might be a nice symbol of this legacy. It might change in the future. I just didn't want to show this record page again without having a family crest, because this is really one of my favorite families that I've ever played, and I wanted to honor them with a crest, though I might actually put more work into it at a later time. But for now, I think it's cute. We are currently 5 generations in, as I mentioned, so we're halfway through to reaching the 10 generations milestone. So for those listening, I have here a milestone section on the legacy record page where I have an automatic tracker that shows me how much progress I'm making for each of my milestones. So I have milestones to reach 10 generations, to reach 30 generations, to reach 50 generations, 75, and of course 100 generations with any particular legacy. And with this one, we're about halfway in with the first milestone of reaching 10 generations. And so that's really cool. That's the furthest I've ever gotten with any legacy of all time across all of the different games. So I'm excited about that. And that's why I'm also excited to get back into playing this legacy, because then I can finally reach my goals. And real quick, a recap of who is in this family. So we have the direct lineage of Sims shown on the page under the direct lineage view. So it starts with Madison Parks, who is the founder of the legacy. She married Eric, who basically married into the family. That's why he's shown in the lineage. Then we have the second generation is Sam Parks. Christine married into the family when she married Sam, and Sam's sister Amanda Parks is also part of Generation 2. And then Generation 3, we have Mercy Parks, who was the heir. Then in that generation, her sister was Lily Parks, and Ian had married into the family when he married Mercy, so he's shown here as well. And then the fourth generation, we have Flora, the daughter of Mercy Parks and the heir of that current generation. We have her brother Jason, we have her sister Dana, and we have Sheriff shown here, who married into the legacy when he married Flora. And then we have the fifth and current generation, where we have Megan Parks, Elliot Parks, and Roxy Parks. So Elliot is the oldest actually of the three. Then we have Megan and Roxy. And currently, it looks like Megan's going to be the heir, though I am definitely looking at Elliot. He looks very interesting. I'll get into that in a second as well, onto why. But in general, the way I pick my heirs is just basically who looks the best or who makes the best children, because that's how I determine the bloodline. So basically here, not necessarily every single sim is shown that is part of the generation that maybe married in through another sim, or maybe not all the children of all the sims are shown. That's because I only want to show in this lineage really the red through line of heir, like founder, heir. So I only want to see like the successors of the lineage. And currently living from these Sims is still Mercy. So she's the oldest generation still alive, with being from Generation 3. And we have Flora Parks, Jason, Dana still alive, Sheriff, of course, as well, and then Megan, Elliot, Roxy are still alive. We're going to focus on the heir lineage, so I'm not going to be going into Jason or Dana, and I'm actually going to brainstorm all of this using the notebook feature of the Sim Guardian. So when I go into Family Heritage, you'll see I have notebooks and a Family Estate tab. This is a collection of photos that are related to the family, organized by generation, and the heirlooms, homes, businesses, monuments, and whatnot related to the family. But what we're talking about today is the notebook of the Parks Legacy, because that's where I'm going to be saving all the information that I want to brainstorm today. So this is what the notebook looks like. It's pretty basic. We have this cover page, then we have different sections and pages that can be within a section. And so I created a page called Family Relationships, where I'll be brainstorming the family dynamics of this family. This really is also a great example of how I make use of the connected databases in Notion to display the lore I've already saved in the Sim Guardian to continue my storylines. This is a feature that is inherent to Notion, so you don't need the Sim Guardian to use this. This is why I highly recommend using Notion, whether you get the Sim Guardian system or not. It is so great at keeping track of a lot of data and connecting it, most importantly. I love that I can reference information about my legacy anywhere else in the Sim Guardian. So as you saw, all that information that we had before was in the legacy record page, right? But the legacy record page itself is only displaying the information. The information is saved in various databases. What we saw on the legacy record page were linked views. And here again, I can create linked views on any page or record in the Sim Guardian. For example, here on this page, the family relationships page that I created in their notebook. And so I was able to link different views. So I have the legacy information, living family members, family friends, enemies, properties, and I also linked the Enneagram card deck that I have in the Sim Guardian for reference. And being able to have all this information and tie it in different ways and display it in different ways is really helpful, especially in this case when it's been so long that I stopped playing with this legacy and I don't really know how the storyline should continue. And this way I'm able to continue it in a way that makes sense because I'm going to be basically using the Enneagram personality types that I've assigned to my Sims, and as well as their traits and any relationships they already have with their family members, any lore I know about the family. I'm going to be using all of that to inform how I move forward with my storyline. And I'm going to do that on the basis of, or on the foundation of trying to figure out what are the family dynamics. And then from that, I'll let story spawn. And so real quick to go over the views that I've linked here. So we have the legacy info in short. So as you saw beforehand on the legacy page, we had the family values, traditions, we had the current generation, all that stuff. And this is just everything more concise, just the more basic information that I want to know, like I want to know common traits. So most of these family members that are still alive have the trait loves outdoors, except for the dad, who technically isn't part of the bloodline. And so those that are part of the bloodline, the only one that doesn't have this trait is Elliot. And that's actually quite interesting because I don't recall choosing this trait for my Sims, though, I mean, it's been a while, so I can't say that for sure, but it seems to be a natural inclination for my Sims in this legacy that they really love the outdoors. And then, we have our family values and our rituals and traditions that I think might play a role in how I create my dynamics moving forward. So that will be brainstorming here under this toggle. And then probably the most important view is the view here with the living family members. So we have Mercy Parks, who is the grandmother of the bunch right now, Generation 3. And we have Donovan Parks, who is the father of Elliot, Megan, and Roxy. He used to be married to Flora, but they've been since divorced. It says here that he's in Generation 3, but that is in relation to his own legacy. So he is part of the Del Corazon legacy, so that's showing his generation there. That's also another point of what's so useful about these cards. So I see a lot of information all at once. So I see the generation that the Sim belongs to. I see their current career if they have one. I see their Enneagram personality type. I see here at the bottom their traits, their current partner if they have one. And here in the middle, I have something that I call the conflict card. So it's something I made specifically for this brainstorming session. And it was quite easy to make. I just added a couple of more information bits to my Enneagram cards. So here you'll see these are the different Enneagram personality types where I created general cards for them in the Sim Guardian so that I can connect it to different Sims, and I can always reference what are like the personality traits, core values, and whatnot for each particular Enneagram personality type in general. To this database, I just added information I thought would help me figure out where conflict would stem or how it would express itself in these personality types. So I created or added the properties stress behaviors and common triggers. And then I created a card, so to say, that shows me for each character here their core motivation, fear, their stress behaviors, and common triggers based on the Enneagram personality type that they have. So this is automatically pulled in based on the data that I saved in the Enneagram database, which has literally only 9 records because it's just 9 Enneagram personality types. But by connecting these personality types with each sim, I'm able to pull in and reference this information and have it all nice and neat here in my view. And that really makes my life easier moving forward because that's going to help inform the relationships dynamics. And then we have family friends. So when I log the lore and information about my different Sims in the Sim Guardian, I also logged roughly their friends and enemies. So some of my Sims knew it felt like the whole world or the whole neighborhood, but I just marked down like the most important relationships where I felt like they were really besties or, really enemies. And as you can see, Mercy has actually quite a few friends. Roxy does as well. Roxy, you'll see, she's quite popular in general. She's friends with nearly everyone in the family. And then in terms of enemies, Mercy actually has quite a few enemies as well. Unfortunately, she's also enemies with her daughters, Dana and Flora. And then we have here any properties related to the family, if that might be relevant to my brainstorming here. But going back to the living family members, this is the main view I'll be working with. I also created a linked view with summaries from each generation. So I'll open that up here. So for each generation that's currently not in the Sim Guardian at the moment, it will be introduced in version 1.0.4, but I will make it possible to collect summaries for each generation. If, for example, you're logging old lore and you want to just like dump a bunch of information that you had collected, maybe in the past, like me, you only collected snippets, and so you just want to add that because you don't have a bunch of memories or anything that you could log or photos. You just have information, and so that's a place where you can save that. And so here I have also the summaries pulled in that are visible on the record pages as well of the individual generations, and of course on the legacy as well if I wanted to see it there. But now I can see it here linked as well, just in case I need that information. And so here are all the family members. So we have Mercy, we have Donovan, who's the dad, Flora, who's the mom, Elliot, Megan, and Roxy, who are the youngest of the legacy and in part of Generation 5. They're the siblings. And so here I prepared and already brainstormed a lot about how I could pair, about what kind of dynamics people would have with each other. So to keep things simple, I'm focusing on the relationships between family members and the future heir. And I have Megan and Elliot listed here because, again, I'm not quite sure which one I want to be heir, and I thought it'd be fun to explore the dynamics they have with other people in the family at the same time. And you might also notice I don't have any aunties or uncles listed here. That would really become even more complex. Definitely something I could explore. Like if in gameplay I noticed that Megan was really close with her aunt or something like that, then that's something I could explore further. But for now, I'm just keeping it to the nuclear family and then grandma here. So that's going to be the focus. And so with Megan and Mercy. So Mercy is the grandma. That's her here. She's the leader of the free world, so she's a quite powerful woman. So she seems to be, at the top of the political career. She has a lot of influence. She was a vampire for the longest time, so she knows a lot of people. She's been around for a while. And as you saw, she's made quite as much friends as she has made enemies. So she's a bit of a polarizing figure in the world and in my save file. She has good traits, I would say. So she's not necessarily a bad person. She's a type 3 achiever motivator, which means she really is motivated by a desire for success and recognition. She wants to achieve goals and be the best in whatever she does. And that's where she gets her value or feeling of worth. Her core fear is basically the opposite, is being worthless or being a failure or not being acknowledged for what she has accomplished. When she's stressed, she gets overly competitive, image conscious. She's a workaholic under pressure, which is definitely something that's been reflected throughout her lifetime. She's had multiple careers. She's excelled at most of them as well. So a common trigger to evoke those stress behaviors in her would be public failure or embarrassment, if she were to feel outperformed or overshadowed in some way, if she weren't recognized for her success, or if she felt like she was being overlooked in terms of her achievements or if they were just dismissed. So that'll get her riled up and irked. And in terms of Megan, she's an individualist type 4 Enneagram type, and she is motivated by a need to express her individuality and uniqueness. She wants to understand herself and her emotions. She wants to feel authentic and different from others. And her core fear is having no identity or personal significance. She doesn't want to be ordinary. When she's stressed, when she's triggered, she gets moody and she becomes distant. She becomes self-absorbed. What can trigger her is feeling misunderstood or dismissed, forced into conformity, or if anybody gives feedback to her that's a bit insensitive, and especially in regards to her self expression. She has the traits insane, loves the outdoors, clumsy, eccentric, and kleptomaniac. So she's quite a handful, I'd say. And on the other hand, Mercy has the traits brave, loves the outdoors, disciplined, perceptive, ambitious. So she's very much a go-getter, I would say. And for Megan and Mercy, what I thought was, so Megan is a criminal. Okay, so she's in the beginning of the criminal career. And I thought that it would be interesting that I think Megan's criminal doings are a thorn in Mercy's eye. I think Mercy's high up in the political spheres, or since she is. Her granddaughters, and I wasn't sure what word I wanted, her granddaughters' criminal activities, let's say, let's type that in, criminal activities is bad for her reputation. So maybe Megan has an eat the rich mentality and likes to target the upper echelon, stealing exclusively from them. I think Megan has a bit of an anti-capitalist attitude. I mean, might be informed, and I might be influenced by the current tabloids or current news that's going on right now with everything that's happened with Luigi. That seems to be all the rage right now, is this top-down, poor against rich mentality. But I just, it's inspired me. It's probably subconsciously influenced me, but I think it makes sense. Megan is a criminal. She's a kleptomaniac, and I feel like her criminal career with her kleptomaniac, we can spin that in a way that where she justifies what she does, in that she targets a certain group of people, kind of like Robin Hood did. He was a criminal in the eyes of society. He was somebody who stole, in particular, from the rich. And so I'm kind of leaning on inspiration from the news today, but also from stories in the past. I think she could be maybe see herself as a modern Robin Hood. But that clashes, of course, with Mercy, who is high up in the political career. She's very much for sticking to the rules and not, or at least when it comes to her image. Like, I think the Reformer Type 1 is very much a rules-driven, wants to follow the rules kind of person and stick to the law. I think Mercy is all for that, so as long as it benefits her. And of course, having a granddaughter that is a criminal is not in her favor. So that definitely looks bad on her. We've seen it also enough in the news of sons and daughters or relatives of high-profile politicians coming out as criminals in their own right, and that just, it's never a good look for the family or for that particular politician. And Mercy is no different here, that she does not want that tied to her name. They do have in common that they both love the outdoors, but I don't think that's enough for these two to become close. And then Megan and her dad. So Donovan Parks here, he is a traffic cop. So he's in a law enforcement career. That's probably not very compatible with a daughter that is a criminal. And so he doesn't actually know about her criminal activities, but as a peacemaker personality, which he is, he might push that knowledge under the rug if he ever finds out. Or would he turn her in? That's something I was brainstorming. I'm not sure. Like, as I said, he's an Enneagram type 9, so the peacemaker mediator. And he is somebody who wants to avoid conflict. He's somebody who wants to, stay diplomatic and appease everyone. And he just doesn't want any, like his core fear is of loss and separation. So I think he loves his daughter. I don't think he would want anything to come to harm for her. At the same time, he probably has his own values, and he's a cop. He believes in the law, and so he probably wouldn't support her being a criminal. I don't recall them being particularly close. If I look to family friends, Megan isn't very close with her father. And see, if she were very close with her father, then I think maybe it would be more likely that he would, push it under the rug. But since he is, I would say, has like a neutral relationship to her, I don't know if he'd be swayed. But yeah, we might find that out in the story, and that's something I can add to the back of my head, that is something that could happen, that she could be found out. This actually reminds me of the Breaking Bad season where, I forget all of the characters' names, but spoiler alert, so don't skip 5 minutes from now or something like that if you don't want to be spoiled. But there is Hank. I think he is the step brother or in-law or something like that of the drug making guy, and he's a cop. And so Hank, and he, I think, finds out that the drug making guy is a drug making guy, and that kind of like blows the drug making guy coverage. But I think at that point they were close enough that I think it was very conflicting for Hank. I don't really remember. I just remember being on the edge of my seat about him finding it out. Yeah. So that is also kind of laced into my influence here of how I think things might play out. And then we have Flora, who is the mother of Megan. She is the Enneagram Type 2, a helper, giver. She's motivated by a need to feel loved and appreciated. Corfier is the opposite, is to feel unwanted, and her stress behaviors, so she becomes either people pleasing, overly involved, or she can even become resentful if she feels unappreciated. And so common triggers there to make her feel that way would be being rejected or feeling unneeded, if she were unable to fix someone's problem, if she were being granted, taken for granted, or if she notices that, you know, her loved ones are becoming more independent, moving on without them. So that is, of course, something she might experience with her children one by one leaving the nest. So Elliot currently lives with Mercy, her mother. Megan lives with, well, herself. She lives alone. And Roxy's the only one that still lives with Flora. So that might be something she struggles with. But in terms of her relationship with Megan in particular, I found that these two have a close relationship. I saw that in the relationship panel when I was digging up their lore in the save file. I just think that Flora might worry about Megan's criminal tendencies, and the fact that, you know, Megan is insane. So I think Flora worries about her and is concerned, but she supports her where she can. So they are close, and I think Flora, with her helper personality, obviously, I don't think she would do anything criminal herself. She wouldn't go that far to like hide a gun or anything like that, or hide the loot. But she, I think, is emotionally there for Megan where Megan needs it, and she loves Megan despite all of, you know, maybe flaws or you know, difficulties, challenges she might bring with her. And then we have Elliot, the older brother of Megan. So I feel like Elliot being in the film industry, so he's currently a background, but he will become more and more affluent in this circle, in this network of people. So his circle is increasingly consisting of the rich and famous, the type of people Megan steals from. She's wary of her brother and the direction he's going in life, especially with their grandmother in his ear. So, like I said, he lives with Mercy Parks, and he doesn't, so Elliot doesn't know the truth about Megan, but she also doesn't trust him with that truth. So he doesn't know that she's a criminal. He knows, of course, that, you know, she can be a bit wacky at times, a bit out there, but apart from that, you know, he doesn't know much about her. They're not close either. Roxy's really the only one that consistently has, a, like I said, a relationship with everyone except for Mercy. So, yeah, Elliot and Megan, even though they're the closest in age, I would say, between all three, because Elliot and Megan are both young adults, while Roxy is a teenager, Elliot and Megan aren't very close. And then we come to Megan's relationship with her younger sister. So Roxy is the youngest, but also the most beloved by the most in the family. Roxy is like the diplomat of the family, is like how I like to see her, and she's close with everyone except her grandmother and Mercy. So I don't really know too much, or haven't really brainstormed too much or too deep in her relationship with Megan or between Megan and Roxy. It's hard for me to say because I feel like Roxy, being somebody who it says here in the conflict card, she is somebody who often merges with others' desires to avoid discord. So I don't really know who Roxy is. I know she's a peacemaker. I know she wants to keep the peace and avoid conflict. But apart from that, who is she? Like, we don't have a career for her yet. I didn't have one yet for her in that save file. So Donovan, also being a peacemaker, sometime while playing that save file, he had found a career in law enforcement, and so that informs a little bit about him and his values, what's important to him. Of course, we have his traits. With Roxy, her traits are never nude, loves the outdoors, excitable, and friendly. So the Sims 3 traits are definitely more informing than the Sims 4 traits, but still, I feel like traits alone aren't enough, which is, again, why I assign people with Enneagram personality types. But apart from that, I still feel like I haven't played with Roxy enough to really know her. So, to be honest, I don't really know much about her relationship with Megan, apart from that she's accepting and that they're close. They are good friends, and that's just something I need to explore, I think, in game. So I can't necessarily brainstorm every relationship to a T, but it's all very much inspiring me. And so if I close the toggles that I have opened for Megan and brainstorming her relationship with family members, I want to continue with Elliot, who I think is very interesting. I also think his wife Jacqueline is very pretty, and I think they have really pretty babies. And yeah, I'm pretty superficial when it comes to that. I usually choose the heir based on who I find the most attractive in the family. I'm gonna just keep it real. I'm not like this in real life, I promise, hand on my heart, Scout's honor. But in my game, I do lean on the more good-looking Sims, or if they're maybe, or definitely not the neutral-looking Sims. Sometimes I also lean towards the unattractive-looking Sims because I think that's just interesting, and I do like that variety. As you can see, Flora isn't the prettiest in the shed in this portrait photo of her, but I love her nonetheless. Luckily, with Donovan's genes, she had three. I think I don't know about Roxy yet. It's always hard to tell from the teenage look of in The Sims 3 what they're gonna look like when they grow older. But Elliot and Megan definitely are are not a sore sight on eyes. But coming down to Elliot and his relationship with everyone. So Elliot is a Type 7 enthusiast, which means his core motivation, according to the Enneagram framework, is that he's driven by a desire for freedom and experiences. He seeks out excitement and avoids pain or discomfort, and he often focuses on keeping his options open and enjoying life to the fullest. He fears being deprived or in pain, and he's afraid of being limited, bored, or missing out on enjoyable experiences. His stress behaviors are that he acts impulsive, scattered, or escapist to avoid pain or boredom, and his common triggers is feeling trapped or limited in options, routine monotony, being forced to confront uncomfortable feelings, or receiving criticism for overcommitting or being all over the place. He has a wife, he's married to Jacqueline Parks, and his traits are couch potato, flirty, genius, party animal, and ambitious. So, apart from everyone else, he's the one without the loves, the outdoors trait. The exact opposite, he's actually a couch potato. He's not lazy, though. He is quite ambitious, and he's a smart guy, but he definitely doesn't share that with the others. Now, looking at his relationship with his grandmother, Mercy is a fan of being in the limelight herself, and so she very much supports her grandson's Hollywood career choice. His success reflects well on her. He lives together with Jacqueline, his wife, in Mercy's mansion, and Mercy gives Elliot the sense of stability he craves. So, at his core, in his heart, he does wish for more stability in life. That's something he maybe didn't get around his teenage years when his mom and dad divorced. That was hard for him. And Mercy, I mean, she's pretty stable, just the fact that she's been around here for a long time. Like I said, she was a vampire at some point. She's been in this world for a while. She has grown herself her own little empire. She owns, I believe, a few community lots. Of course, she owns a mansion that she has, built herself. Well, not built herself, but bought herself. Built the wealth herself to afford the home. And yeah, so she's definitely an institution at this point in the world of St. Clair. And yeah, I think that comforts him. Of course, her knowing so many people, her being, a top politician, there's that network he could tap into if he wanted to use that to further his career. And she welcomes it very much herself because, like I said, any success her offspring has reflects well on her, especially if she says, yeah, I took him in and I nurtured him, I helped him climb that ladder in the film industry. I think she is keen on him. She likes him. And then we have Donovan, which is Elliot's dad. And yeah, seeing his parents divorce was painful for Elliot. He grew to be critical of both his dad and mom, especially when both seemed to move on so quickly into their new relationships. So Flora moved on to marry Sheriff Youssef, who she met on vacation. And Donovan also met Delita on vacation. I think they met both of their partners in Egypt, but I don't think it was the same vacation where they met these partners. But yeah, they're quite settled now with their new partners and very happily married again, I believe. Yeah, spouses. So they're happily married. And I think for Elliot, that was hard to see. He was the oldest of the three siblings when the divorce happened. So he's a teenager. So he was very much like mentally aware. I guess Megan, I don't think Megan was a teenager at the same time. So I think maybe she was like in our years, 12, 13. But Elliot was the oldest and it hit him the hardest. And so ever since then, I think he doesn't have a bad relationship with Donovan or Flora, but he's definitely not close with either one of them. And so going on with his relationship with his mom in particular, so Flora has an estranged relationship with her mother, Mercy. So she wasn't keen on her son moving in with her. So with Mercy, Flora was never really close with Elliot, but with Mercy's influence, she fears that they may become even more distant. So I think for Flora, it was hard for Elliot not only to leave the home, but to leave the home for Mercy's. I think the part there with the stress behaviors of the helper type feeling resentful when unappreciated might come up with Flora in regards to her feelings towards Elliot, just because that is like a double whammy. I mean, obviously the kid's gonna move out eventually, especially if he gets married and wants to start his own family. That's nothing she can put against him. But the fact that he moved in with her enemy, her mother, like it's weird. It's I don't think it's something she's too happy about, and so she might feel resentful about that as well. And then with Elliot and his sister, so yeah, basically they don't really vibe. Megan is too out there for Elliot, so short and sweet. I don't think they really cross paths in general. I don't really see that happening unless there's Mercy involved somehow. You know, since Elliot does live with Mercy and they talk a lot. They're very much in tune with what's happening with each other. And so if Megan were to do something that would mess up Mercy's plans in regards to her career as a politician, Elliot would find out, or who knows what might happen with Megan. Because, like I said, she also is stealing from people that Elliot is working with, since Elliot is working with amongst the rich and famous. And so I can see some issues happening there, some crossover. And then looking at Elliot and his relationship with his sister, Roxy. Apart from his grandmother, Roxy is the only one in his family he has a close relationship with. Elliot appreciates that she finds a silver lining to any problem and is generally just really accepting and non-judgmental. So again, we have the peacemaker type Roxy, who just gets along generally with everyone. She has no qualms with Mercy, but she's not very close with Mercy. But apart from that, she is close with everyone. And yeah, I think she just gives everyone a good feeling. She gives them good advice when needed. Funnily enough, she's the youngest of the family in general, of the legacy of the clan, but she, I think, has a good head on her. She currently isn't a contender for heir, just because I think I just don't know her well enough. That's another thing. I think the more you play with a sim, also the more you're inclined to play with them as an heir, just because you already feel connected and attached to them, and you want to see their journey through one to one. Whereas a sibling you haven't played with too much, it's like, yeah, you'll just let them go along their way, live the rest of their life, and maybe pop in every once in a while, but you don't really care much to be in the control or at least oversee everything. And so that's how I kind of feel with Roxy. But it has been over a decade. I just need to give her a chance, I think. And maybe in gameplay, she'll turn out to be maybe also the best looking, and then it'll be decided then and there. But yeah, that is how I brainstormed. And also now with you, kind of like some additional things popped up in my mind here and there about different nuances. Like, for example, Breaking Bad, and realizing a bit where my influence came for Megan's mentality with the whole eat the rich thing. I think that's where I am right now in terms of relationship dynamics between these family members. And so I think when I start playing again, I will start playing in Mercy's household again. So where we have Mercy, Elliot, and Jacqueline living together, I would really be interested first just to see what the kids would look like if Elliot and Jacqueline finally pop one out. Also, just to have Elliot pursue that career more intensely. He's currently a background extra, so it doesn't sound like he's very high up in the ranks yet. And with Megan, I think I would want Elliot to make friends with people in his industry, and then I would have, when I play with Megan, have her target those people. I think to steal from them. I think that could be interesting. And so overall, I just wanted to show how I use the information that I have from my Sims already, together with insights I gather from the Enneagram personality types, and use that then to brainstorm how the story can continue. So I think we have an interesting bunch of Sims here. I'm really looking forward to playing Elliot and Megan in particular, and then within their relationship with Roxy, maybe exploring that further as well. So once Roxy gets older and maybe finds a career, I can see where she fits in, where she can have maybe a more pivotal role, because she's also the only one that can probably diffuse anything if any issues were to come. And so I think that would be really interesting to explore. And then I can also explore any relationships they might have with extended family, like aunts and uncles and whatnot. I'm a real big fan of the Enneagram personality types, and so I really recommend everyone to try it at least out. You can, with Backstory Creator for Notion that I created, it's a free template full of all the Enneagram personality types and most of what you see here. So we don't have the stress behaviors and common triggers in the Backstory Creator, but we do have the core motivation, core fear, and everything else you can see here on the card view. So we have what they're passionate about, what they're driven by, their virtues, their vices. We even see who might most likely conflict with another person. So that's something you can download for free. I'll leave a link below so that you can, so if you're listening, it'll be in the show notes. If you're on YouTube, it'll be in the description, and you can download that for free. The Backstory Creator itself is a small part of the Sim Guardian. So if you get the Sim Guardian, it'll be, of course, part of it as well. And in the 1.0.4 version, I might just include the stress behaviors and common triggers as well. If it's something some people would be interested in, I'll definitely ask in my community as well what people think about that. And then that's definitely something I'm open to adding. But in general, whether you're using the Sim Guardian or your own personal Notion template, it's so easy to add these things to your databases. So if you have your own collection of Enneagram personality types, like for example, if you're using the free Backstory Creator, where I'm just keeping it, simple with what it already comes with, you can just, add a couple new properties and you can add those in. So that's super easy. And you can add anything you'd like. So maybe there's something else you think would be important to know. So apart from stress behaviors, maybe harmony things or stuff like that that's not related to conflict. And so you can add that as well. Till next time, stay sentimental.